next chapter. Name of the chapter is New Empires and Kingdom. In history, you have probably studied a lot of empires and kingdoms. But do you know what the Gupta dynasty is? What were times like back then? Let's find out more about new empires and kingdoms. Let's start with the empire meaning. So the first topic that we are going to discuss is the Gupta Empire. The Gupta Empire is ruled over a major part of the Indian subcontinent from AD 320 to 550. Maharaja Sri Gupta was the founder of the Gupta Empire. The reign of Gupta Empire was a period of overall prosperity. This period also witnessed developments in the fields of science and technology, art and literature. Due to this, the Gupta period is also known as the Golden Age in the history of India. Chandragupta I and Samudragupta and also Chandragupta II were the greatest emperors of Gupta Empire. The rule of Gupta Empire was spread from the northwest to Bengal in the east. The Gupta Empire was restricted to the north of the Deccan Plateau. But during its peak, it also extended to some part of the eastern coast of India. So friends, first of all, let's study about Samudragupta. Samudragupta was the greatest emperor of the Gupta empires. Samudragupta is considered to be the greatest king of the Gupta Empire. Some historians also equate him with Ashoka, the great emperor. Historians have come to know about him through the coins and inscriptions. One inscription on an Ashoka pillar in Allahabad gives a detailed account about Samudragupta. It was a prashasti written in the form of a long poem by Harisena. Harisena was a court poet of Samudragupta around 1700 years ago. Prashasti is a Sanskrit word which means in praise of someone. Prashasti was written in praise of kings during that period. And the Prashasti from the Ashoka pillar in Allahabad reveals some details about Samudragupta. That detail says Samudragupta was a great warrior. He fought many battles to expand his kingdom. He was an able administrator and a good ruler. He was a musician, an artist and an author. Samudragupta encouraged artists, musicians and poets in his royal court. Kalidasa was famous poet in the court of Samudragupta, and also Aryabhatta, the famous astronomer, also lived in the court of Samudragupta. Let's check out the administration in Gupta Empire. A large part of North India was under the direct rule of Samudragupta. This part was called Aryavarta. In this part of northern India, Samudragupta had defeated 9 rulers and made their territories a part of the Gupta Empire. And there were 5 rulers in the Dakshinapada. They had surrendered to Samudragupta. Later on, Samudragupta allowed them to rule over their respective kingdoms. Assam, coastal Bengal, Nepal and many Ganasangas in the northeast followed Samudragupta's order. The rulers of these states attended his court and brought tributes. The rulers of the outer areas submitted to Samudragupta. They offered their daughters in marriage. The Shakas, Kushanas and the rulers of Sri Lanka probably came in these areas. Thus almost the whole subcontinent was under the rule of Samudragupta. Some parts were under the direct rule and others were ruled indirectly. This period shows a new trend. The kings began to assume grand titles. For example, Samudragupta was called in the name Maharajadiraja. Okay, so this was all about the greatest emperor Samudragupta. Now let's consider about Harshavardhana. He also a greatest emperor at that period. Harshavardhana ruled over a major part of North India from AD 606 to 647. His capital was at Kanuj. His court poet Banabhatta wrote his biography Harshacharita. This biography has given rich information about Harshavardhana. Xuanzang also lived in the court of Harshavardhana. We also get important information from the accounts of Xuanzang. Harshavardhana was the son of Prabhagaravardhana. Prabhagaravardhana was the king of Tanezar. In modern days, it is situated in Haryana. Harshavardhana was not the eldest son, but after the death of his father and elder brother, he became the king of Tanezar. Harshavardhana's brother-in-law was the king of Kanauj. He was killed by the ruler of Bengal. Subsequently, Harshavardhana took over the kingdom of Kanauj. Then, he led an army and attacked the king of Bengal. He succeeded in conquering Bengal and Magadha. But when he tried to enter into the Deccan, he was stopped by Pulikeshi II. Pulikeshi II was a Chalukya ruler. So this was all about Harshavardhana, the great emperor Harshavardhana. Now let's discuss about the Pallava kingdom. The Pallava dynasty ruled over a large part of South India between 2nd and 9th century AD. The capital of Pallavas was at Kanchipuram. The Pallava tertiary extended up to the Kaveri Delta. Okay students, now let's move on to the next topic of this lesson, that is the Chalukyas. The Chalukya dynasty ruled over a large part of the central and south India between 6th and 12th century AD. The Chalukya tertiary was around the Raichur Doab between Krishna and Tungabhadra rivers. Aihole was the capital of the Chalukya dynasty. The Pallavas and the Chalukyas frequently fought with each other. They wanted to assert their supremacy in the region. Capital cities were especially attacked because they were the prosperous towns. Pulikeshi II was the best non-Chalukya ruler. Pulikeshi also checked the advances made by Harshavardhana. His Prashasti had been written by his court poet Ravikriti. This Prashasti shows details of the defeat of Harshavardhana. In due course of time, both the Pallavas and the Chalukyas had to give way to later rulers like the Cholas. Okay, now let's see the administration in these kingdoms. Land still remained the main source of tax revenues for the kings. Villages remained the basic unit of administration, but many changes were happening which changed the balance of power during the period. There was no single ruler who was enough powerful to have total control over the Indian subcontinent. Kings usually took steps to win powerful people. They often chalked out power sharing agreements. There were many people who were economically, socially or militarily powerful. There are some examples that illustrate this fact, like some posts were made hereditary. This meant that the son got a particular post after the death of his father. Let us take the example of poet Harisena. He was a Mahadanda which means chief judicial officer, and his father held the same post. There were many instances when a single person held many posts. Let's take the example of Harisena once again. He also held the post of Kumar Amatya, which means important minister, and Sandhi Vigrahika, that means minister of war and peace. Many important men exercised authority in local administration. Some examples of such persons are the Nagara Shreshti, which means chief banker of merchant, the Sartavaha, which means the leader of the merchant caravan, and the heads of the Kayastha. Kayastha means the scribes. These policies appear quite effective in keeping control over the kingdom to a certain extent, but gradually the local satraps grew in power and eventually set up their own independent kingdoms. Now let's consider about the changes in the army. Some of the kings continued to maintain a well-organized army. A new trend also emerged during this period. And some military leaders maintained an army and provided the army to the king when required. Such military leaders did not get salary, but they got grants in the form of land. They also got the right to collect land revenue. The revenue was utilized to maintain the soldiers, horses and battle equipments. Such military leaders were known as Samandas. When a ruler became weak, a Samanda tried to become independent. Okay students, now let's discuss about the assemblies in the southern kingdoms. The assembly of Brahmin landowners was called the Sabha. Such assemblies functioned through various sub-assemblies. The sub-assemblies looked after different aspects like irrigation, road construction, farming, operations, temple constructions, etc. The assembly of non-Brahmin landowners was called the Ur. The organization of merchants was called the Nagara. Usually these assemblies were controlled by rich merchants and landowners. Such local assemblies survived for centuries in South India. Okay friends, now let's discuss about the life of ordinary people at that time. While most of the authors and poets sang hosannas, which means praise about the kings, some of them also mentioned about ordinary people. Many stories, plays and poems tells us about the life of common people. Sanskrit had become the language of the king and the Brahmins. Prakrit was the language of ordinary men and women. Okay friends, let's conclude today's class with the last topic, that is condition of untouchabilities. Fajian was written about the condition of untouchabilities in India during that time. People who were not allowed to mix with mainstream society were considered as untouchables. According to Fajian, when an untouchable person entered the village, he needed to warn others about his presence. He constantly beat a stick to the ground to alert others. This ensured that people could avoid coming anywhere close to him. The untouchable lived outside the city or the villages. So friends, this is it for today. In this class we have learned about the chapter New Empires and Kingdom. It's a very interesting and important chapter. So study this lesson very well. I hope all of you understood this lesson. I will meet you in next video with another important chapter for you. Till then, goodbye and have a nice day.